One of the things since Brian Kelly was fired that kind of was a feather in the cap was that nobody opted out and there weren't any decommitments. Well, now that's changed. DeAnthony Lafayette has decommitted from LSU and is now committed to Miami. So let's walk through that and what happened there.
This is a kid, Matt, who committed to LSU in July, I believe it was, and he had, coming out of Lake Nona High in Orlando, was someone that Blake Baker, your DC, Kevin Peoples, the DN's edge rushers coach, were both high on through the offseason, kind of before he even boomed a little bit ahead of his senior year. They were one of the offers that were notable in the SEC. Others came from there afterwards, but a guy they felt good about as kind of a sleeper in this class. I mean, look, he's not the biggest guy, 6'1.5", maybe 230, but is a pretty productive edge rusher. And this is a case in point, Matt, I think, of just the reality you're living in right now. It's November 11th. Yeah, God, I cannot believe it's only November 11th. But in this case, I'm gonna say that's late in the season here. You've got until December 3rd to signing day. There's so many unknowns with the timeline of this hire. And Burge Osbury talked to you about this, about the timeline, what all it would mean. And he said, at least, I'm paraphrasing here, if I remember it correctly, Matt, correct me, that by that early signing period, they at least would like to know the direction they're going. I take that to mean a candidate or two in mind. They might be in the playoffs, but direction meaning with this timeline. Are you punting on the early signing day relative to we have a full staff in place? It got, a head coach got named after Christmas and we're really salvaging this class, or maybe even more importantly, the entire roster and where you get into January with the transfer portal and the NFL draft declaration deadline being on the 15th and the portal ending on the 16th. So how do you kind of navigate that? And we've talked about it. Frank Wilson is interim head coach, all these current staff in place. Certainly helped stabilize it, but DeAnthony Lafayette, who came out and just said it, hey, look, I'm a few weeks out from signing. I don't know if Kevin Peoples will be there. I don't know if Blake Baker will be there. And I'm going a few states away from home to make this commitment. This isn't a Louisiana kid who's going to LSU regardless type of thing. So it wasn't a shock when a day later he commits to Miami. That's an in-state school. They're stable under Mario Cristobal right now. Florida's going through a coaching change. FSU might be right behind them. So I think he's sort of a good case study of this is expected, right? Like, yeah, you've had 17 commits. You're down to 16 now. Most of them are Louisiana kids, some border state kids. But when you get into a few states away now and the coaches he has connections with cannot tell him whether or not they'll still be here when he signs in December and then enrolls in January, that's a lot to ask for a kid and family, right? So not a shock that Miami kind of kept in contact with him and said, you've got the green light, and he went ahead and made the decision. But again, like not really that nefarious. He came out and said, thanks to all the LSU fans, like I really appreciate this opportunity, but I've got to go somewhere where, everything's sort of already in place for me and not have to sign on the dotted line and wonder who coaches me later.
We'll get right back to the video, but thrilled to welcome Our Lady of the Lake to AFR LSU. As the championship health partner of LSU athletics, the physicians at Our Lady of the Lake serve the champions on the field in the purple and gold, but that same level of care is available to you and your family. I've been a proud supporter of Our Lady of the Lake my entire life, from volunteering at the Ronald McDonald Playroom as a high schooler to helping so many of the fundraising efforts for the standalone Children's Hospital, to my own son being a patient now at that very Children's Hospital, and my primary care physician, Dr. Kurt Chastain, at Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. Our Lady of the Lake has been a part of my medical journey my entire life, and you can learn more as well. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. On Monday, Lamar Brown tweeted, I don't want to read too much into this, but he tweeted a photo of himself in the LSU uniform, one of his recruiting pictures with no text, no context, just the photo there. I think, in a way, we're all meant to interpret that as his pledging of allegiance to the LSU program. What, if anything, should we make of the Lamar Brown tweet?
Yeah, I speak fluent 17-year-old social media, and I think that it's just, it tells us I'm still committed. rally around me here in mentions, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean too much to me, nor should it anyone else. I think most people will say, hey, as long as he hasn't decommitted yet, and as long as he hasn't made visits to other colleges yet, you feel like you're in an okay spot here going into the final weeks, or at least about as good as one of a spot as you could hope to be in, which is where they're at. And Lamar Brown is similar to a lot of these guys that now, a handful have made visits or are setting up visits, whatever point they might be at. But Brown, let's not skip over this. He's the number one player in the country. Like, I think it's easy for us as Baton Rouge folks to say the kid from U High who's always had an offer since he stepped foot on the Cubs football field, kind of gloss over that reality. He's not just your number one athlete or D lineman, number one player. So everyone's out there trying to get him flipped, notably A&M. Miami, schools that had been in the mix prior to committing to LSU, but he hasn't budged. And I think if you're LSU fans, that's kind of what you want to see is, all right, we expect some decommitments, but can we hold on to the bulk of them? And can you really hold on to these 5 stars that are probably pretty early impact guys in the defensive line?
Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Get him at Shea Dixon. Okay, Shea, so DeAnthony Lafayette out. Are there other members of this class right now that are committed that we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I'll give you the 2 that are kind of most notable, at least from the last time that we spoke, Matt. One, Bryson Cooley,
Right.
from Mississippi. Steve Wiltfong kind of runs things on the rival side here. Put in his flip pick from Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Bama. All of these schools had been on him. He's been committed to LSU, but it's much like DeAnthony Lafayette, except I can just change the position, right? He doesn't know if Brad Davis is going to be here. They don't have an offensive coordinator in place. He doesn't know who the next head coach is. And look, they don't have a winning record, but Mississippi State and Levy and that staff are in place. There's no expectation that changes in the offseason. So it won't be a surprise if he ends up in Mississippi State's class. And you still have a handful of offensive linemen committed, but that brings you to the other one. Your highest rank offensive lineman right now on the commit list is Bryson Martinez from right here in East Ascension. And he already made a visit to Texas and then made another kind of scheduled official visit. So very much exploring his options. Texas is a school that hasn't let up there, but still remains committed. But it's one of those things, Matt, like as we get closer to December 3rd, how many of these guys, even if local, even if, hey, I'm committed to LSU, even beyond just who the current head coach is, he doesn't know who the next offensive line coach is if it's not Brad Davis. He doesn't know the head coach. He doesn't know the staff. And it brings me back to where we started. Do we know those answers by the early signing period, or is it a risk they run to where either you're signing them then, they flip elsewhere, or they've told you, I'm willing to wait until February to sign, but I would at least need to know kind of the feel for things over the coming weeks. And then you toss in how many of these guys, a bulk of them, are early enrollees. They're supposed to be on campus in January before any playoffs and all of that wrap up. Those guys are trying to move in. So more often than not, they're wanting to sign in this early signing period. And that's a big reason why nobody pays attention to February signing day anymore. It's a relic of the past at this point. And unless you're in a coaching situation like this, where maybe you have to wait on guys or convince them to wait instead of just outright flipping, that this December 3rd to 5th is the one that everyone's paying attention to.
Shea, is Martinez an early enrollee?
He is. So he's most everyone we talked about, Catholic High doesn't do it. There's a number of schools that don't do it. And I've kind of noticed, and I've talked to the national guys, Matt, about this, is that unless your school just doesn't allow it, most guys who are already committed, knowing they're going off to college, will have lined it up with their school and the guidance counselor in LSU to say, how many courses do I need to take in the summer and then fall of my senior year, just to ensure, hey, look, I can skip my spring semester and go right to college.
Shea, before you go, last thing, 2 home games to go. What are we keeping an eye on here for these next 2 home games, and what's sort of on the docket here?
Yeah, I was feeling that out with some people. It's getting all these committed guys in and then getting your Louisiana and border state kids for next year in, just to put them around the program. Let them experience Tiger Stadium, let them get to know some of the personnel staffers. And look, some of these assistants may be here. So if they just keep recruiting as it's been, then you don't want to skip a weekend. So given kind of where the program is, Matt, and it's an 11 a.m. game,
Yeah.
and it's a non-conference game, it's not. If you had a head coach and 25 commits, you're not getting a wave of recruits in for those games.
Right.
So I think they did a lot of the heavy lifting before, and now it's about just holding on tight.
He's Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Man, it's a great time with coaching search and, of course, trying to put this roster together. Shea, at the risk of going a little long, I mean, when you look at this with the December signing period and the January portal period, if they don't have a roster in place or a coach in place, how do they put a roster together?
I think the biggest thing for me is you would have to know something by the end of December. And without going too long-winded in it, you can't, in a great world, right? Like we could make the hire and the hire is this person, but we're going to only tell the recruits, we're in the team, it'll never leak out, right? Like that never happens.
Right.
So anyone hoping that route is one to take is not. Everyone's going to be in the dark until it's named and leaks or whatever. But I think you just got to hope that in a world, let's envision it, if Frank is still on staff and he's able to give some assurances to families and you sort of navigate it through that and you get the bulk of them signed and you lean on them just wanting to be here no matter what, which is a built-in benefit of Louisiana by and large, that's how you get through it. And you sort of hope that even in this NIL world, that maybe that gives you a little extra budge, knowing, hey, look, everything's in place for you. You'll figure out things with this new staff when it comes. And I think a lot of these guys, just knowing their backs are against the wall with enrolling early, are going to have a little bit of blind faith, which, again, we could wash all this away if they're announcing a hire at the end of this month, right? But I just don't know at this point. I don't know anything. Who are they targeting and when is that person coming? And if I don't have those answers, the recruits certainly are probably in that same boat.
Yeah. Shea, we appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what I owe you for getting to go on at 3:15 through all this, but send the check, and the check will be in the mail for you, man.
I think it works the other way, typically, man. We appreciate it greatly. Thank you, Shea.
You got it, man.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.